The opinions expressed in this video reflect the opinions of the participants only and do not reflect the opinions of the producer or the Darden School of Business. The Darden School of Business and/or the University of Virginia in no way endorse this video. Founded in 1954, the University of Virginia's Darden School of Business has attained near cult status in its short history. Known for its boot camp-like academics and its focus on the case method of teaching, Darden is a challenging and reportedly rewarding MBA program. Darden has also solidly established itself as one of the nation's leading MBA programs. In fact, Forbes magazine recently ranked Darden as the 4th top business school in the country. The Wall Street Journal placed it as the 10th, while both the U.S. News & World Report and Business Week placed it as the 16th top program. Internationally, The Economist placed Darden as the 12th top program, while the Financial Times placed it as the 16th. The Darden Grounds, as the campus is termed, was built to reflect the rest of the university, and is comprised of Southern-styled buildings built of red brick with white features. The facilities are extensive, including banquet seating and a large auditorium. The average class size was increased in 2004 from about 250 students a year to about 300, with first-year students broken into learning teams of 5 to 6 students. Each typical day is comprised of 3 classes, typically each covering a case. The first class generally begins at 8 a.m. and is followed by First Coffee, which is essentially a breakfast that is sponsored by a recruiting or supporting company. The First Coffee tradition offers students and professors an opportunity to mingle and to get some sustenance before digging into their second case of the day. Let's meet some students.
My name is Travis Larrier. I'm a second year at the Darden School.
My name is Deli Cole, originally from Houston, Texas.
My name is Alex Robinson. I'm at the Darden School of Business. I'm a second year here.
So my name is Jamal Kazi.
My name is Jen Lefkowitz. I'm a second year at Darden. I went to Ohio State for undergrad. I did architecture before commercial and then residential architecture.
My name is Charles Cox.
Why did you choose Darden?
I chose to come to the University of Virginia Darden School of Business because when I called the admissions office, I felt like everyone was very helpful as opposed to other top programs who will remain nameless.
I chose to come to Darden because of the rigorous curriculum that it has, which I thought was a key differentiator from a lot of other top-tier business schools, where it's kind of a 2-year vacation, which some kind of talk about. The boot camp kind of myth around Darden is not really a myth. I mean, it's a very, very demanding program, but I think that's what really adds to my MBA experience, and I saw that in my past summer internship, where I was probably one of the more qualified candidates, and I did get an offer. So.
The faculty have a tremendous reputation at Darden. They're consistently ranked 2nd or 3rd in the big rankings, and that's what attracted me. I thought that was the most important thing in any school.
I came to Darden because, I mean, as you can tell, it's a very beautiful place. Also, I just really love sort of the culture of the place. Very, very like sort of informal, but they get down when they need to. You know what I mean? Pretty much the draw to Darden, I think, is just the people, and I think in general they're really here not to sort of step on you or to compete with you, but really just to help you out.
I chose Darden because of location and reputation and because of the case method. I think it's a really great way to be involved in classes and really be able to learn material. And also the community feel of Darden. People are really supportive, really collaborative, willing to help each other all the time.
UVA was a good fit for me mainly because, I got into law school here and they allow you to apply during your first year. So you don't have to apply to both schools before the school year starts. And Darden, because they're so different, it was kind of a good fit to come out of Darden, which is known for kind of a boot camp atmosphere, and the law school, which is known as kind of a well-rounded atmosphere. It's a good mix. Kind of learned how to do both, and it's been fun.
Why are you wearing a suit?
I had an interview with Deloitte Consulting. Hopefully it went well. I think it went well.
What drew you to business school? Why do you want an MBA?
I want to do general management. There's a lot of us who want to do general management. It is a general management school. That's what we're trained to do, is combine all the various functions. So I'd say, maybe 30% general management. There's a lot of bankers here though too, who want to go to Wall Street and whatnot. I'd say they're about 30% of the school too. A lot of consultants too. And then people who just want to specialize in marketing, a lot of people go into that.
I want to do consulting. I mean, immediately. Later on, you know, I want to start doing, maybe making some organizations to help the world, things like that. Classmates, whole bunch of things. Probably sort of around the same lines of doing their own like financial jobs or consulting jobs in the beginning, and then moving on to something else.
Why did you choose UVA for your JD MBA program? Can you tell us about the program?
If I had to sell UVA, it's an easy sell. It's location, it's a great sports town, it's a great college town. It's, the people here are well-rounded compared to other top schools. You can either apply to both schools before you get into either school and then choose which one you want to go to first. You can do what I did. I applied to law school or vice versa, business school. And during your first year, you apply to the other school and get in. So I did a year of law, a year of business, and then 2 years of mixed, where you take electives in both schools. And you do get credit for some classes that count towards Darden in the law school. Your last 2 years actually aren't that bad workload-wise. The first 2 years are pretty rough, but your last 2 years, you live a pretty well-rounded life.
Can you describe your fellow students?
I found my classmates to be extremely group-oriented. I've noticed, in particular, the Darden School of Business is known for the cold call. So actually what I've noticed from the beginning of quarter one kind of to the end is when someone gets cold called in the class, my classmates don't necessarily want to see the other person fail. So they kind of ask questions to the professor so that that person who got cold called has a little more time to prepare. So it's pretty family-oriented.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I'd say that the overall academic environment is very, very collegial. It's a very, very kind of supportive environment. It's very much a student-driven kind of learning that happens at Darden, as opposed to a lecture-based kind of school, which, you know, you just kind of sit there and get talked at. In this kind of environment, as you might know, it's a 100% case method pedagogy. So people are very much, it's very, very interactive kind of classroom dynamic, which lends itself more to a student-driven kind of learning as opposed to a lecture-based kind of learning.
Right.
Really like the crowd over at Darden. It's a really well-rounded student body. It's not quite as, I think you have if I had to describe it perfectly, it's probably a brainier crowd over at the law school that have more fun, kind of a more well-rounded crowd over at Darden that work harder day to day.
Amazingly enough, we're very collaborative. We always help each other out. We work a lot on teams. And I think the learning team environment in the first year encourages this. And then beyond that, you know, you can ask anybody a question. They'll help you out with career or with school. So I haven't found it competitive at all.
Can you discuss the learning teams?
It's basically, first year we have these 5 or 6 people teams. You break up and you sort of do your assignments, right? So you have your 3 cases every day, and you break up and you prepare your cases together, kind of thing. So you prepare it beforehand, then you meet to discuss them. So that the quality of discussion in class is a lot better than, you know, you just sort of coming up with it the first time and you say all this stuff that's untested.
Yeah, so first year you're broken down and assigned into study groups, and second year you pretty much do what you want to do. Most people do still not stick with the same learning team because you're in different classes now, but you find fellow classmates who are in the similar classes and you do study with them. So that's really the best way to get through Darden. I mean, to try and handle a course load all by yourself is pretty tough.
Can you talk about the case method as it is used at Darden?
Oh, half your grade's participation. Yeah, I mean, law school you can kick back in the back row like you did in undergrad and just take notes if you want, and really even if you get called on, as long as you don't mind being embarrassed by the professor, it doesn't really matter in terms of your grade. Business school, it does. You know, they'll call on you, and they call on you often, and they'll hammer you, and it actually counts.
That is one of the best parts of Darden. First year, definitely, you know what, another reason first year is a lot harder because you're sort of trying to get the points, 50% of your grade is participation, and you're sort of worrying, oh my gosh, am I getting enough points? Am I getting enough airtime? But then you sort of realize that the reason you're here is so that these people can give you their wisdom and you can go through their own experiences. And it's a huge part because I could have just read this stuff in a textbook, you know, and not seen the different facets of, you know, a certain acquisition or just a certain deal. Like people have been in these companies and involved in these deals, and you just hear from the other side that you can't read in a case. So yeah, and so there's less of you trying to talk and more you trying to listen.
We have cold calls every day. It's embarrassing if you miss a cold call, and so that creates a lot of pressure. So every day you have to be on the ball at Darden.
every day we have 3 cases to do. You know, the whole cold call aspect of law school is they kind of transfer the same model to business school here, and it's very, very effective, which kind of lends itself to, it's very important to bring outside business experiences to the classroom setting, because that's where a majority of the learning takes place from various students' backgrounds. So that's a very, very key part of the Darden learning process.
And just to add to that, Darden is building and cultivating managers. We're not building analysts. We are not interested in you graduating and becoming an analyst. We want you to be an all-around manager. So definitely with the collaborative learning, bringing in real-world examples into the classroom with the case method is absolutely what needs to happen in order for us to go forward and be the best that we can absolutely be in the workforce.
Definitely.
If you're prepared, it still can be kind of scary, but it really forces you to be prepared for every class, which in the long run helps you. Exam week's probably the easiest week at Darden. You can ask any first year they just finished exams, and exam week's one of the easiest, most relaxing weeks because it's 1 case a day. So I guess being cold called, it can be scary because some teachers will stick with you through the whole class, so you really have to know the material through and through. But on the other hand, as long as you've prepared and you've done the work, even if it's not right, it's okay, because you can still walk through what you did and be corrected to find out and improve the way you did it and why you did it wrong. So it really goes through your thinking process and helps you learn the process better, so you know what you're doing as opposed to regurgitating answers.
Can you describe the workload?
Workload at Darden is brutal, I have to say. 12, 13-hour days. If we're not doing schoolwork, we're definitely doing recruiting.
Darden's great. You know, I probably, it's a little older crowd compared to the law school. A lot more married guys and girls, and people have a little more business approach to school. It's tougher in terms of day-to-day accountability. You have more work day to day, but the exams in law school are a little more difficult.
Second year is a lot better because you can sort of cater your curriculum to your own needs. And I think in a lot of ways, if you're not as interested in finance, you can sort of deviate a little bit and pick specifically the courses you want, so you're a lot more passionate about it. But at the same time, I mean, it's still difficult. It's still difficult, but you're also you're more used to the process.
Can you compare the qualitative versus quantitative elements of the academics?
We're not, crunching hardcore numbers all the time, and the math that we do use is pretty simple math. I'd say it's a mix of quantitative and qualitative. I don't find that we're using ridiculous mathematical theories. It's very practical, and math is just used as a language for business here.
How would you describe the faculty?
Doors are open. I always just go in, talk to them. What we also like to do is called pit diving. So afterward, you sort of just run up to them and say, so what was that all about? It's in terms of and they'll stay. One of my professors, he sort of skips lunch all the time. We have to remind him to eat. I actually had to show him the fridge here because he just sits and he just answers all our questions, and we just keep talking. The next class comes up. So, yeah, very accessible, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of student-faculty interaction. In the classroom, definitely, it's a class discussion. So the faculty is more like a facilitator of a discussion. We don't have lectures, and it's an open door policy. You can go visit a teacher in their office anytime. Teachers will have students over to their house. I would say at least once a month there's a group of students going to a professor's house, whether it's like a marketing club or a consulting club or a women event, every different kind of event. There's definitely a lot of interactions. The teachers encourage it. Students do research for teachers. And it's an open door policy. You can go visit them for anything you need.
Darden is known for its rigorous academics. Do you have time to have fun?
Most people do find time to have fun. We have a Thursday night drinking club, which is pretty well attended. We don't get as many days off as other business schools, probably. So I'd say we have fun when we have time, but it's definitely not what you hear about a lot of other business schools, which is some people say business schools and social club. Darden is definitely not that. Oh yeah, when we go out at night, we go into the town. We probably frequent the same bars that a lot of undergrads frequent, which they probably don't like too much. And yeah, so we just go downtown. We hit a couple bars on the corner, which is where the undergrads go, or if we're feeling more, mature, I guess we hit the downtown mall, which has some nicer bars, some nicer restaurants.
To be honest, I haven't been able to take advantage of the social life as much. Socially, when we do get to go out, like on Thursday nights, we have Thursday night drinking club. which we drink at a little bit, not too much, not too hard, you know. But nothing really like going clubbing or anything. It's not really any of that in Charlottesville. You sort of take more advantage of like the weather or like atmosphere and stuff like that.
It's all about what you make it. You make time for the things that you want to make time for. There is a lot of material to read and go through, but like I said, because the Darden School is cultivating managers, they know that's how how the real world is going to be. And you need to make time for family. It's only healthy. You've got to have that work-life balance. So absolutely, I do still have time to go out for a jog, to go have a drink with friends. It's absolutely an atmosphere that lends itself to that.
I'd say there's definitely room for fun. The Darden, part of the whole Darden environment is very much a collegial kind of environment, like I said before. And you know, part of the reason why I want to come back to a larger school like this, especially at the University of Virginia, is because, you know, they have ACC football, ACC basketball. There's a lot of tailgating going on. It's a really, really kind of fun environment. There's a nice bar scene downtown. There's definitely room for you to pick and choose what you want to do around Charlottesville. It has a really nice kind of a small town appeal. It's not overwhelming like the big city, which is something that I was particularly looking forward to coming back to school. So I think there's definitely room for a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, and I would say there's definitely something for everyone. Football games are a lot of fun. Virginia football is pretty fun. There's groups of people that go out 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week, and then there's people who don't go out at all, who just go out to dinner. There's groups that go to movies, go to arts events. There's a lot of cultural things to do in Charlottesville, and there's people who do that. So I'd say there's pretty much something for everyone to do.
Do Darden students get into the sports of the school?
It's a fun place to watch sports, football team, basketball team, or being in the ACC. It's a great time all around. Another reason I came here. I'm a Carolina fan, but it's a great ACC school, and it's fun to watch UVA play all the big time sports as well.
Yeah, we have tailgates, and a lot of people do go to the games and take it seriously. Tailgates is a pretty big deal here. I
was actually amazed how athletic everybody is. It's pretty interesting. Actually, I heard UVA is like one of the most athletic campuses in the country. Then at Darden, there's a lot of soccer going on. I think that's another thing socially I forgot to mention. But also you can take advantage of this class here. Like I'm actually taking a breakdancing class.
What are some of the positive and negative aspects of going to school in Charlottesville as opposed to a bigger city?
I think that it's more of a destination place, so people are coming, there's a lot more of the community feel, that people are coming here, they're really involved with each other, as opposed to a big city where I think people live there and are more spread out. They have their own families, they have their own friends, it's not as interactive of a community. So you get to experience a lot together, and you end up going to a lot of the same places socially and academically. You run into people all the time. You run into professors. You see professors out. You go to professors' houses for barbecues, for mixers, just to get to know each other, networking events. And I think that has to do with the small community.
Charlottesville's a great place to go to grad school as far as there's no hassles here. I mean, most people live close to school. Even if you don't live that close to school, you're not going to sit in traffic, ever coming to school every day like you would maybe in New York. You wouldn't have to get on a crowded subway train to get here. You can find pretty decently priced housing around here, so that's great. It's a big enough city that there's a lot of stuff to do, plenty of bars to go to, but you do really rely on the Darden community to be your social network. I don't know a whole lot of people who venture outside of Darden for their social life, so in that sense it might be a little limiting.
For instance, in a big city, it could be a great place to study business, but then you don't get that business school sort of cohesiveness that you get when you're all living here. Like you just say hi to everybody, right? It's places like New York, you may not get that chance. Campus like spread out, right? I think it's a great part. Charlottesville's beautiful. Prices are low. It's always good, business side. The disadvantage is that we're far away from alumni.
For me, a drawback in Charlottesville has just kind of been the logistics to the airport. My family is from Texas, and so if I want to fly out of Charlottesville Airport, it's just a little more costly to go that far. But if my family lived in DC, I could just hop on the highway. So if I want to get a more cost-effective ticket and fly out of Richmond, I do have to take an hour commute to the airport. So logistically,
I mean, there is some value in, especially if you're looking at a very regional kind of school, and going to school in New York or Philadelphia if you're interested in specifically going after jobs in those particular markets. But what I will say is that we get exposure to the same types of recruiters that they do at NYU or Wharton or where have you here in Charlottesville. Recruiters, we're always on their short list of top tier schools that they go to recruit. And it's access to top tier firms is not limited in coming to Charlottesville. So from a recruitment perspective, from a job seeking perspective, it's very, very good. But to be honest, I mean, this is not New York City. I mean, you have to be honest about that. I mean, but for me, I come from Washington D.C. and I'm originally from the New York City area. The value that I saw was that I wanted to kind of get away from that kind of hustle and bustle jive, but I still wanted that quality education, which this school is all about.
Can you discuss recruiting and alumni relationships?
Recruiters have been coming down. And the reason I mention alumni because those are really our main contacts in these companies. But for their part, they have been coming down here. So they're making an effort to come all the way down to Charlottesville to interview us and stuff, which I think is great.
Yeah, we get a lot of huge recruiters here. And a lot of people do, I think maybe 60–70% of people get their jobs through on-campus recruiting.
Oh yeah, a lot of the recruiters that come here, because people love coming back. They love Charlottesville because it's pretty. It has a lot of history, so people love coming back and seeing the old school. There's a strong feeling to the section you were in. So most of the recruiters that come back are Darden alum, and people who aren't are really impressed by the kind of community feeling, the way everyone's welcome, and there's always a Darden alum willing to talk to you at any company, no matter if they're out of school 2 years or out of school 20 years. You can call them up and I'm at Darden, they're happy to talk to you.
Do people tend to venture out to the bigger cities?
Second year, I'd say a fair amount. If you want to do it, you can do it, every other weekend, whatnot. But first year, I'd say that you don't have time. So maybe twice a year you get into DC the first year. That's how often I got into DC, and that was usually on vacation.
Do Darden students typically have a good deal of work experience?
Darden, they really put a premium on work experience, and because they want to invest in people that are actually going to, demonstrate well in the working world and be able to find jobs and represent the school well.
That's one of the things that struck me about Darden too, is how much experience everybody's got. And I was first struck with this when I was at Learning Team. I mention this because my first experience there is I sat down and you started introducing each other. So, oh, where'd you work? And this one woman, she was like, oh, well, I just came from the Pentagon. I just worked, corporate, Abercrombie and Finch. I was like, oh, okay. And then it turned to someone else. He's like, yeah, well, I was a zoologist. And then, you just so the person saved his company however millions of dollars, And then, I mean, I'm just saying so many diverse experiences. So really when you get this business problem, you're seeing this huge, just diversity in the solutions that you get.
Yeah, I'd say 100% of the people here have work experience, whether it's ranging from 2 years all the way up to, I would say, 15 to 20, which is not the norm. The average age is about 27. And you get everything. There's a lot of bankers, former consultants. But then in every Learning Team too, we have what we call a poet, which is someone who has a non-traditional background that's come to Darden.
I'd say 100% have some work experience, 100%. From my experience, most have between 4 and 6 years of work experience. I think the average age here is 28 or 29. So there's some seasoned people out there. But that's not to say that there isn't room for a person like myself who only had 3 years of work experience at undergrad. But I also find that there are things outside of work experience that I'm also able to contribute to the classroom.
Can you describe the international element of the school?
It's about 30% international, which I'm not sure how that relates to other schools. We're divided into learning teams first year, so every first year learning team has at least one international student on the team, so you're interacting on a daily basis with an international student, learning from their culture, their perspective, and you get a lot of that in class too.
Would you say that there are many married people at Darden?
I think it's 30% of people married. So, but although there's definitely single people who are going out at night, and that's kind of a divide, but otherwise, it's very well integrated as far as, married people, single people. We don't isolate the married people.
NBA programs tend to be predominantly male. Is there any advantage or disadvantage to being female?
I think there's definitely some girls who feel it more. My background was predominantly male. Also, architecture is about 25% female. but I don't ever feel like being female, it puts me at a disadvantage. People are supportive whether you're male or female. If you don't get something, there's always someone there willing to help you, or vice versa. If a guy doesn't get something, he's not afraid to come up to a girl and ask if she understands it. It's a group of people that you can bond with, and I don't feel like it puts you at a disadvantage at all. If anything, I would almost say an advantage, because you're looked at as like an international student. You have a different perspective. As a female, you have a different perspective. So you're in the minority and you have a unique perspective that you can talk about.
Do you need a car to go to school here?
I can't imagine living without a car here.
You don't need one. You don't need one. It helps. Definitely helps.
No, you don't need a car. A lot of people do. A lot of people drive to school here. I walk to school. There's living that's 5-10 minute walking distance, and there's ways to get around. People give you rides, bus system, and there's places you can walk all the time.
A lot of students do not have cars, actually. Surprisingly enough, a lot of students live over in Ivy Gardens, which is literally across the street from the school. So as far as getting the logistics of getting to and from school, it's quite easy. I personally have a car because I just don't.
I personally have a car as well, but you do not need to have a car in order to make it here socially or from coming to school. You can live very close in proximity. There's plenty of housing.
I mean, it helps. I didn't drive to school my first 2 years. I lived close enough to walk. There's plenty of places to undergrad campus, the main strip, bars and restaurants are all walking distance. So there's a pretty decent taxi service as well. I drive to school now, but you definitely can live close enough not to have to drive to school.
What about Darden would you only know by attending?
I guess you wouldn't know about how important it is to hear what other people think. How important it is to carry a conversation. Because I think a lot of times, like a lot of us, we're in these corporations, we have to be heard. So we're always like trying to say stuff, but really the truth is you sort of have to listen more.
The power of the curriculum and the faculty, I can't really speak enough to the quality of the faculty here and the quality of the teaching. And unless you go here, you can't read about it. And to be a part of this environment and learn the way that we learn through a very, very engaging faculty, very thought-provoking faculty, is something that you can't read about in a view book. So that's I think is one of the key differentiators between our school and a lot of other schools.
Some people learn by doing, and Darden is definitely about giving you that, learning by doing.
The thing you wouldn't know is the classroom experience. I mean, the classroom experience here is unbelievable. The classroom discussions are so dynamic, and you learn just so much from your fellow classmates. Most people would think that it's just a line when people say that it's student-driven learning, but at Darden, it's not just a line. Like, our whole classroom experience is class participation, and I don't think you would know that unless you actually visited here, attended a class, and attended a few classes.
Are business ethics a focus?
The real ethics teaching happens because it's really just embedded in our culture. The honor code is there, and it's expected at such a level that it becomes a norm. So, for instance, like if you're supposed to cover your mouth when you cough, kind of thing, people just do that. You know what I mean? And so here, it's just so expected of you that the expectation itself, I think, brings it out of people a little bit more.
Darden is a pioneer in business ethics. We were the first MBA program to have an ethics-centered type of curriculum. We have the Taylor Murphy Center for Ethics, which explicitly focuses on ethics and ethics-related issues. On top of that, going to the University of Virginia, you are also subject to an honor code, which is you cannot lie, cheat, or steal in any shape or capacity at the university. So that environment in and of itself breeds a culture of ethics and being ethically motivated and centered. So I would say that this probably is the premier institution as far as ethics is concerned. Anything?
I totally agree with that. In every case that I know that we have done, no matter what class it's been in, accounting, finance, operations, marketing, somehow there has been an ethics piece taught in each case. This school is driven by the honor code, and that's just simply it.
Yeah, we actually do have a class in ethics, and I think we're one of the few business schools that has a whole class focused just on ethics. And so that's going through, what would you do in this situation? And it's a lot, some are like, you would think for sure, but then listening to other points of view and how people do things differently. And one of the big things is how people handle things in other countries. If you're doing something in another country and it's accepted, but it's not accepted in the United States, like how to handle those kind of situations. So you go through like thought processes and frameworks and how to make those decisions in the right way.
Can you describe your experience here at Darden?
It's one of the most beautiful business schools, totally. It's, colonial design, and, you feel smart just coming here because it's so beautiful.
I personally just think this place is awesome, man, and it really has transformed the type of business professional that I'm going to be. And it's very, very obvious that I view the world in a very, very different lens, after coming to Darden and going through my first kind of year and a half of the curriculum. I see the world in a completely different new light. I know that I'm prepared to undertake any kind of business challenge. I'm prepared to walk into any kind of work environment. I have an enterprise perspective on any type of situation that that's put in front of me. So I think that this is just, if I can just sum up Darden in one word, I would just say transformation, because that's really what you go through when you come back to school here.
We're all coming here because we want to see ourselves do better in life. We want to be better managers, better business people. Maybe we want to start our own business but didn't have the tools to do that in the first place. So for me, I cannot harp enough on the network. It is so important. Darden has an enormous alumni network, and like I said, that spirit of family and togetherness, it goes and stays with you after graduation. So coming to this program, if you did not utilize the alumni network, you'd be doing yourself a great disservice.
One thing I think is interesting about Darden is how responsive the administration is. So I think normally in any organization, if you have an idea, you want something done, it's really hard to sort of change things. But really, they go the extra mile to really figure out what we're thinking and like how to improve the place. So I think if you end up here and you think there's something the school's missing, you can always change it yourself, I think.
What has surprised you most about your experience here at Darden?
I think one of the big things that surprised me the most, I guess a pleasant surprise, was the trust at Darden. That you can, it's from being able to leave your laptop in a room and for a half an hour and not worry that anyone's going to take, to someone giving you a ride, asking for advice, keeping your secrets. It's just, the community is very based on trust, and school itself is based on the honor system. So we have take-home exams that you're on your honor to do it, and I think that it's upheld because you're responsible for yourself and you're responsible for everyone else, and that's what keeps the spirit alive. And it was really surprising, but definitely a pleasant surprise to come here and realize that everyone trusts everyone at the school.
What kind of person might not be happy at Darden?
I don't know. I really don't know.
A person who is not comfortable talking in class in front of 60 people every day would not do well here. But I would also argue that same person will not do well in business. So.
Someone who's very independent, I would say, who doesn't like a group setting, doesn't like group interaction, who likes to kind of keep to themselves because it is so community oriented and so team learning focused.
What advice do you have for prospective students looking at MBA programs in general, in Darden in particular?
Really have a good idea of why you want to come back to school, and just because it's a huge, huge cost that you're undertaking. It's a huge opportunity cost. So you have to be very, very cognizant of why you want to come back to school. You have to really align your goals and aspirations with the type of MBA curriculum that you're trying to get into, because the schools are very, very different, and you just have to be very, very conscious of the differences in each MBA program that you're applying to.
I'd say know yourself, know what you're about, and be willing to push yourself to the limit, because your peers certainly are going to do it. And the fact of the matter is the faculty here at Darden especially is definitely going to push you to the limit. So if you're someone that feels uncomfortable in situations that put you out of the norm, then this potentially may not be the program for you, but if you're someone that wants to meet and exceed your own expectations as well as those around you, then this is an absolute great place to come and have that happen.
I would say figure out if you want a case method or a lecture method. All schools have a bit of both, but Darden is like 95% case. I think Harvard is like 95% case, and you have to figure out what that really means, and you have to figure out whether you're going to feel comfortable with that. And then you have to think about whether you want to be sitting in lectures all day as opposed to dynamic classroom environments. So obviously I'm biased towards the case method, which is why I say it like that. But if you want lectures and you want material presented to you in a very clear manner, then maybe you should go to a lecture-based school. If you're more comfortable with ambiguity and you're more comfortable with class participation, then case method school. Another aspect I would look at would be, does the school have a rich club environment, or is it a very academic environment? All schools have a mixture of both, but some schools more than others. Again, Darden has a pretty strong club environment. However, since we work a heck of a lot of hours, that limits our club time. Other schools, you might do more club experiences.
I think the often explored is to get a different job, but really I think people just think about coming here to learn about business. And people I think really don't think about that as much until you get here, and you learn all this stuff about business. And in learning about business, you're really learning about society and how to make sort of these intangible dreams or whatever real.
In general, I'd say explore your options. Look at what companies if you know what you want to do, look at what companies recruit at that school, because it's easier to get a job when there's alum there, because there's people to talk to you about the job. You can learn a lot more about a job before you actually go there. I think location's important. It's not the end all. You can get a job anywhere, but it's easier in the area where you are to look for jobs. Darden's very collaborative. It's very team-based, and there are people who work better on their own, but I'd say in general, it's very team-focused your first year, and it's encouraged to stay in your learning team at least through the first semester. And there's a lot of benefits for a learning team. You learn a lot, but you retain a lot more by teaching, and it's another built-in support system. But it is a very team-focused school, and it's you're very actively involved, which is the case method. So you have to be ready for cold calls. You have to be ready. Part of your grade is based on participation, so you have to be willing to speak up in a classroom setting, and that really prepares you for afterward, but you have to know that you have to be willing to do that.
Well, it's a heavy workload. I'd say that's key. Heavier than most business schools, I would say, and most business schools the work is up front in the first maybe semester, but at Darden the workload carries on for the whole time. The case method is huge here. And class participation is the other big thing. So I think those are the three big aspects to hit on. Yeah, I would say overall, just because you're combining skills like talking in front of 60 other people every day with actually learning the material at the same time. So you're building your leadership and presentation skills every day, as well as learning basic business fundamentals. So yeah, but sometimes the case method is a little less direct than the lecture method, so it might take you a little longer to get to key learning.